with Kate Butler as we dig into revealing life's best kept secrets. I am thrilled. Today we are here with Peggy McColl, who is a world-renowned wealth, business, and manifestation expert, as well as a New York Times bestselling author of Your Destiny Switch, Master Your Key Emotions and Attract the Life of Your Dreams. By using her Power Life Script process, along with her unique, intimate understanding of the universal laws, Peggy has been showing people from around the globe how to manifest any result they desire in their personal and professional lives, from dream homes and soulmates to perfect health and multi-million-dollar businesses. I am thrilled to dive in today. She is also going to be sharing with us her newest creation, wait for it, Savy Wisdom. So Peggy, here on this podcast, we are all about digging into the real juicy stuff, the game-changing stories, right? The real deal. So I would love to just dive right in and ask, have you had a game-changing moment in your life? And would you be willing to share?
Absolutely. As you say that, Kate, I just had a total head to toe goosebumps because it is all juicy stuff. Life is juicy and we really can manifest whatever it is that we desire. Now, that understanding was something that I certainly didn't have until January 1979. That was a life-changing moment for me. That was the day that I met Bob Proctor, and I was forced, I'll say forced, because I was working for a company at the time that mandated all employees must go to this special event. And I was like, I don't want to go to that. What do you mean we have to do it in the evening? That's my spare time, my free time. Right. So being the negative, miserable person that I was back in January 1979, I reluctantly went to this event. And I showed up intentionally just as it was going to start because I thought I'll just slide into the back of the room and my first chance, I'm escaping. But what happened was I arrived there and the room was packed full and there was one seat front center. And so I was waved, come on over here, come to the front center. I sat down and Bob Proctor came on stage and started to speak. And I'm quite certain I was sitting there with my mouth gaped open. And he said these words, and you've already begun to dive into Savy Wisdom. If you want your life to change, you must change. That was a life-changing moment for me because I realized at that time that the misery that I was experiencing was not my parents' fault. It was not my employer's fault. It wasn't my older brother's fault. It was my responsibility to make the change. So that was definitely a life-changing moment for me. But I've had a number of them along the way. Another one that I had was around 1994. And I remember this so vividly because I remember going through an experience that was completely challenging and it hurt. And that was a divorce. And because I got married, I thought I'm married forever, but it unraveled. And I remember thinking, what in the world, how did I create this in my life? And I was frustrated. And then I remembered this, it only takes a little bit of poison to kill. And I had been thinking that I wasn't worthy of love. And if you think you're not worthy of love, you're never going to have a healthy relationship. You might attract them into your life, but you're not going to keep them. So that was a life-changing moment. Another one was when I first became an author and I realized that I must learn how to effectively market my book because it doesn't matter how great your book is, unless you get it out there, it's not going to mean anything. So that was a life-changing event. But I recently had a big life-changing event. And what happened was I decided to create a program called Skipping Levels, which is about taking your life to a whole new level. It's quantum leaps. It's those that are really ready, like, bam, let's just enough of this playing small silliness. Let's go for it, the big goals. So I set a program called Skipping Levels to invite people to join me while they experience quantum leaps. Well, I had one, and which is not why I created the program. I've been having them all my life, but I created the program to help others. And then what happened was at the end of October, I was looking at a list of video suggestions that one of my teammates had suggested. And it was a video, because I used to do these videos 3 times a week and just give them away. They were like manifestation videos. And I did them on all kinds of topics that I was very familiar with. I did hundreds and hundreds of them. And so this next topic on the list was how to write your first fiction book. And I looked at it and I thought, I teach fiction writing and nonfiction. I teach both.
Right.
I've written, at that point, I had written 18 books, or had released 18. I didn't write them all, but I had released 18 books. So I looked at it and it sort of stopped me in my tracks. And the first thought was, we'll just go to the next item on the list, right? Like, how could I do a video on how to write your first fiction book if I've never done it? That's out of integrity, and
Right.
integrity is my highest value.
Absolutely.
So I thought, then the thought floated into my consciousness, well, what about writing a fiction book? And then the next thought was, well, you could hire a ghostwriter. It's like, I don't want to hire a ghostwriter. I want to write it. Yeah. And then I thought, what if I believed that I was a great writer, a great fiction writer? And what if I believed that I wrote the next classic? What if I held on to those beliefs and got on with the work? And so I decided to write Savy Wisdom. Now, I didn't know what it was going to be called. I didn't know what Savy was going to be called. It's a name of a character in the book. I didn't know where it was going to go, but I knew it would be loosely based on my own life. Right. So as you've read in the beginning chapter, I mean, I was that girl who was suicidal. Wow. I went to that park bench to end my life. That is absolutely true.
Oh, I have truth bumps all over.
I know. So I had the best time by far writing that book than any other book. And you know what, Kate? It totally, I have goosebumps as I say this, it flowed through me. It was like I became an open channel for this, and it completely flowed through me. And I gave myself 10 days to get it done. And like you, I have a very busy calendar. So it's not like I had 10 days wide open. I don't think I have 10 days wide open anywhere in my calendar. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to squeeze in a couple hours here and an hour here. And then the weekend was in between. Of course, we're not going anywhere right now. Sure. So I thought, I'm going to write that weekend. And I got on with the work. And 9 days later, I had the book done. Now, what's interesting is the book was finished except for the final letter from Savy to Sophie. And it was a Monday morning. I remember opening up my laptop and thinking, okay, my job this morning is to get that final letter written. But then another idea popped in my mind. Ask Bob Proctor to write the final letter. Savy is based on him and the wisdom he's given me over these years, these 42 years. So the thought entered my mind, ask Bob. So I emailed him at 10:35 and I said, hey, Bob, I've just written this parable. It's like a parable. It's a story loosely based on my life with lots of valuable lessons in it. And you're Savy. I based the book on you and your wisdom. Would you be willing to write the final letter? Well, Bob had just checked into a resort. He was there to work on a program. He was with Gina and they were doing this thing for 5 straight days. So he was very focused, right? So he gets my email and he sees it and he's like, absolutely. He felt like he trusts his intuition, right? Yeah. And so his intuition said yes. And so that night he said he got back to his room at 9 o'clock and he started reading and he said he couldn't stop. He fell asleep, but he woke up in the middle of the night just thinking about it. He said, I had to get back to it. And he finished it. And then he sent me a text saying, oh my goodness, like, I love this book. It's amazing. And he wrote the final letter and sent it to me. But there's a video that we have I created a page with reviews for Savy Wisdom because I've never experienced the reviews like I'm receiving now. Wow. And Bob did a video and he said to me, there's only one time in his life, actually 2 times in his life, where he felt so strongly that something would be big, like huge big. And he said it was the time that he received The Secret, the movie, the DVD in his hand. And of course, he's the star of that. He said he received The Secret and he said it wasn't out in the world yet, but he held it in his hand and it was like a whoosh of energy. And he's like, oh my goodness, this is going to be big. And, 500 million people have known to have watched that movie. And he said he felt that with Savy Wisdom. He feels it so strongly. And then he said he'll do anything to help me bring it out to the world. And then he sent me another text saying, many, many years ago, he was working in a bar and he was sweeping the floor at night. And the television was on in the corner of this bar. And it was the Tommy Dorsey show. And he said, Tommy Dorsey invited this new singer onto the show, a guy by the name of Elvis Presley.
I knew you were going to say that.
And so
what could be big like that?
Yeah, right. But he wasn't big. He wasn't even known. Right, and Bob said, I dropped the broom. He said, I dropped the broom because it was another one of those whoosh experiences of, I have it right now, actually. He said, that guy is going to be really big. And so I think Savvy Wisdom is like something that's totally, I don't know, it's surreal in
Yes.
many ways, but so that was a definite life-changing event. And after I wrote it, I just felt like so good. It just feels really, really good. And I'm so in love with being an author, of course, and helping authors. And I have never felt more proud of a book than I have this book. It's already changed my life. And more importantly, it's changing many people's lives in the world.
I mean, you can tell you're 100% in alignment, and you opened yourself up to the channels, and you gave yourself permission and space, and then you felt the download and the story come through you, right? And that's
Yes.
really when you know that, the magic really is pouring through you and out into the world. Like, that's such a beautiful, beautiful experience. So is that why you wrote Savvy Wisdom? Is it because this title came up and you hadn't done it before? Or is there something like, is there something more here around like what drew you to write this book?
I decided, it's such a great question. I decided back in the 90s that I'm put here on this planet to make a positive contribution to the lives of millions. And I remember even thinking the thought of that's my purpose. And then right on the heel of that thought thinking, oh, that's kind of arrogant, right? And it's not arrogant at all.
No,
It
yeah,
just is what it is. And I feel a responsibility to do that. Like when I think about the way that we live our life now, my husband's been retired now. He retired at 47. He's been retired for, oh my goodness, he's 61. So 14 years.
mhm,
And, he plays golf. He's out skating right now as we're
love it.
doing this interview, this podcast. And like, I love what I do. I don't have to work. That's what I want to say. I don't have to work.
Right.
It's not necessary, but I love what I do so much. And I really believe Savvy Wisdom is a part of that. It's part of why I was put here on this planet.
So what is the best kept secret that we will learn from Savvy Wisdom?
Ooh, good one. I would say there's a part in there where Savvy and Sophie are talking, and Savvy says to Sophie that many years ago he learned that magic is the opposite of life. With magic, when you know how it works, the magic disappears. But with life, when you know how it works, the magic begins.
Wow. I love that. I love that. So tell us more about, in sticking with this savvy wisdom that we're all going to learn when we purchase your book at the end of this, and you're going to share with us how to do that. And Peggy also has some really neat supporting things around that. I don't want to give too much away.
I
We
do.
have a lot in store for you. In just a few minutes, we'll share. But tell me more about, this incredible, incredible life you've had once you started to really tap into your understanding, you say, of these universal laws, right? The
Yes.
power life script process, right? These are some
Yes.
big content words that we're using here. Share with the audience a little bit more about you and how they can use some of your life-changing tools in their own life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my life is night and day from what it was. I mean, I was raised in a tiny 600 square foot home. I shared a bedroom with my two brothers and my sister, and the bedroom was tiny, tiny. There was bunk beds for my brothers, and my sister and I shared a 3/4 size bed, and you could barely walk between the two. And, my parents were poor. I mean, we really were poor, and our home was pretty much miserable and lots of anxiety. And so that's what I was raised in. So, I went through this environment, and I'm not blaming my parents at all. They simply
Right.
did the best they could with what they knew.
Mhm.
And so when I met Bob Proctor, I was a messed up girl. I was miserable, and I had no will to live. As I wrote about in Savvy Wisdom, I really did want to die. I wanted to kill myself. And so the understandings of the universal laws is what my eyes were opened up to, and realizing that we have this incredible power within us. And when we understand the laws, we can work in harmony with them to produce that which we want. But the most important part of that is the role we're playing. Like, how are we showing up every day? What are we deciding to create every single day? And so you mentioned the Power Life script. The Power Life script is a process that I established back in the 90s. And the reason is I realized that understanding all these materials, being a great student, listening to the audios, reading the books wasn't enough. I mean, I was going to seminar after seminar after seminar. I was just like an addict. I mean, I just couldn't get enough of this. I was like, I got to get another book. I got to go to another seminar. I got to listen to another audio. And it's like a psycho. And, but I needed to do it to saturate my mind, to clean out the ugly, the dirty, messy stuff that was in there to recreate.
Yes.
But when it really, but when things really took a significant change in my life was when I decided to discipline myself even more, to really anchor in the feelings of knowing that what I desire is already here now. So I created this process called the Power Life Script, where I wrote a detailed description of my life as I choose for it to be. And it included everything from relationships. I mean, that's how I manifested Denny in my life, my husband, from manifesting relationships to business success, to finances, to health, to enjoyment, to the way I live my life. And I wrote detailed descriptions of that, all in the present tense, definitely emotionally charged. Record it and listen to it every day, every day. I don't record it every day. I just listen to the recording every single day. And it's so easy. Like, just think about it. All you got to do, like on my phone here, it's with me always, right?
Yes.
All you have to do is push this thing called play, like boom, play. And you're reprogramming your subconscious mind.
Absolutely.
And so that to me has been the biggest tool that I've used, and the most effective tool that I've ever used, that totally has transformed my life in every way.
Absolutely incredible. You just left so many pearls of wisdom in what you just described, right? And it's interesting, you keep going back to this, I grew up this way, but I'm not blaming anyone. I had this thing happened in my life called a divorce, right? But I had to just decide how I was going to show up or how I was going to deal with that, right? But these bad things happen. So what would you say to someone out there right now that perhaps is newer to this information, or they're discovering you for the first time, and they're saying, okay, Peggy, but if they're, life happens, right? And so it doesn't always go according to the way that I, hoped it would, or that I planned it would. And I'm going to consider this a bad event has happened in my life, or I'm going through something challenging right now. So what would you say to someone that says, how can you manifest, right, when these bad things keep showing up?
I don't mean to laugh at bad things showing up, but I'm just laughing because I had the exact same experience. So I can understand somebody asking that. Well, we're program beings, and we've got patterns of thoughts, patterns of feelings that we're engaging in every single day. And whether you know it or not, you are creating the results that are showing up in your life. But have no judgment about that. It is what it is. When I got to that point and I met Bob and realized, oh my goodness, like what a mess my life was in. I didn't look at it as someone who's going to judge it. I just looked at it as an observer, simply to be aware. Just notice, okay, well, it is what it is. And you know something? You can't change the time you got out of bed this morning. That's actually wrote about that in Savy Wisdom, because that's where I learned it, from Savy, also known as Bob Proctor. And it's such a simple understanding when you think about it. We can't change the time we got out of bed this morning. We can't, right? No matter how much, we know how powerful we are. Nothing can be done about that. So what can you do? Well, we're going to look at it as learning experience. It's in the past. Let it go. Have positive emotions. Before you and I got on this call together today, I was actually recording one of the classes for my Skipping Levels program. And I was recording a class called Anchor in the Feelings. And the feelings that you want to anchor in are the emotions that you're going to feel but you feel them now, knowing that your dream life or your manifestation is already here right now. But we're programmed to feel a certain way because of the way we've grown up, the way we've conditioned. Our belief systems are already there. We have to change them. But you got to understand, it's going to take some time, and it's going to take sometimes a truckload of work, depending on how cloudy and dark and, that subconscious mine was. I remember going through the study of all these materials and getting to a point thinking, this crap doesn't work. And then realizing, okay, it's not the crap, it's me. Yeah. I wasn't doing it, right? It was me. I just kept recreating more of the same because I was, and so you got to get in the habit of snapping yourself. Like when I was a kid, my parents used to say, snap out of it. Like if you're in a bad mood, snap out of it. And that's actually great advice. Snap out of it, snap out of it. So I love to simplify things. And I believe that when you're feeling good, you'll attract good. When you're feeling bad, you'll attract bad. Think about that, yes. Right? And if you came to my home, you're going to see reminders everywhere. Like even in,
Yes.
some of the things that I have, I'll remind, believe and you'll believe will create the fact, like stuff like that. I live in the joyous expectancy of the best. I wrote that on a little cue card and put it here. I put reminder cards. And as I showed you, I've got the Oscar here. I've got this sign on my desk saying your success is absolutely guaranteed. I'm just constantly, I have a little whiteboard over there with the goals that I'm focused on for the month of February. I carry my goal card with me. I listen to my Power Life script in my drawer. I have things that I read every day. I have my goal book there, and I have my journal that I write in every day. I wake up in the morning. I have affirmations right beside my bed. I read my gratitude. I'm like super hyper disciplined when it comes to this. So if you want massive results, you got to put in massive effort.
Beautiful.
And so, right?
I love that. And what I think also, what you're saying is that we don't automatically wake up and believe this every single day. So it is necessary, right, to continue on that path of this positive creation, to continuously put, these things that we have around us into our awareness every single day. And I'm looking behind Peggy here, and I've seen other videos that she's done, and it's always these constant dream big and believe in yourself, and all
Yes.
these beautiful words of uplifting and empowerment and believing in yourself, like all around you, right? It's absolutely beautiful. It's interesting what you say, and so people can think about this in the other way, because Peggy said, if you feel bad, you're going to attract bad. If you feel good, you're going to attract good. I remember in my last house, when as soon as you walked in, we would walk in through, like, it was like the garage and the mud room, and then you would, kind of see a wall. And on that wall, I had what I thought was like a really neat, kind of statement at the time. And it was all about like, oh, don't worry about the windy road, like you're going to end up, good at the end, something along these lines. And it was all about challenges, right? I think it even had the word challenge in it. And
Right.
I bought this at a little cute shop in Cape May, New Jersey, and I put it up on the wall, and it was a beautifully done wooden sign, right? It was gorgeous. And I would walk in every day. And over the 6 months that I had that up, my life was a windy road. It just
Wow.
oh my goodness, challenge after challenge. And finally, and I knew this stuff right at the time, but I didn't put two and two together. I just thought pretty picture, cute saying. At the end, it's positive, but it was a very like taking you through this journey to get there. I said, oh my gosh, I got to get rid of the sign. Almost momentarily, I got rid of the sign, and everything shifted. The energy in the house shifted. The things stopped popping up. The challenges went away, because I replaced them with what you are saying and what you have behind you and next to your bed, right?
Brilliant.
Your physical environment is either supporting you, right, or taking away from you. But even these little things, like, you might not even recognize that they're working against you. And so all that you're saying here is just a beautiful way for someone to say, either how do I get started, or how do I get the life of my dreams? Like, this is the beginning of it. But Peggy, like you said, it's a constant effort. And so how can we learn more about you or connect further with you? Can you share a little bit about how we can get into your world?
Oh, easily by going to peggymccall.com. Peggy, PEGGYMCCOLL.com. As you said that, Kate, I was thinking that was brilliant that you noticed it, because we're taking in information from our senses all the time, whether we realize it or not. And I was thinking about a quote that I heard years ago that goes like this: we think in secret and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass. So what that really says is, like, what we have in our life is based on what we've thought or been thinking. So if we want to, but it's also feeling, it's the thinking and the feeling. And so our conscious awareness allows us to do that. So if we decide today, like today, enough is enough. Like, if you're in a state of dissatisfaction, anyone who's listening this or watching this, be grateful for that. Because when you're in those states of dissatisfaction, I know I've been there. It's like, enough. Like, I'm going to do something about it today, and do something about it today. Get a copy of Savy Wisdom. Like, the nice thing about Savy Wisdom is it's not like a typical self-help book. And I know, because I've written many of them, It's a little different. It's a story. And I think that's why it's impacting people so effectively, is because they're getting the valuable lessons inside the story. And so I actually created a course based on Savy's Proven Success Principles, and I call it Savy's Proven Success Principles. So when anyone goes to my site, PeggyMcColl.com, they'll see Savy Wisdom right at the top. They're going to see Savy Wisdom, Savy's Proven Success Principles. And as you know, I teach my complete author program. I do skipping levels for quantum leaps. And those are the ways that I work with people. But I do this because I genuinely want to help another. I want to help another get out of their emotional pain, get out of the destruction that they've been involved in, get out of misery and poverty or lack or whatever it is, and create desirable results.
Yes. And your work is so brilliant, Peggy. Peggy and I, we go back a long time now. I want to say 6 or 7 years even. We met through our mutual friend, Dina Proctor. That was a beautiful connection. So
I
many
love
years
her.
ago. Yes. I learned so much from Peggy. She's taught me so much. You mentioned in the very beginning of our conversation here that, you know, integrity is one of your number one values. And I learned that from you very early on. And it was, you know, that you're not going to teach something that you haven't done yourself. That's a principle that I have carried with me my entire business. I have also passed that lesson on down to so many people that I have worked with, right? Like my audience knows, right? The same as you, Peggy, that, you know, we will not show up and teach about something or talk about something or, you know, open the doors to something that we haven't have had as a proven system in our own life, right?
Yes.
And so I love that you actually took that even a step further by then writing your own fiction book before you would talk about it, right? I mean, it's just absolutely extraordinary. And your work is brilliant in all regards. Everything you put out really is just 5-star, top notch. It's wonderful. You mentioned that if we go to your website, we can purchase Savy Wisdom. Is there something around that, maybe a call or something that the
Yes.
audience may have access to? Okay.
Yeah, we love rewarding. And, you know, in my business, we have a philosophy of like deliver over and above and beyond. And so even with Savvy Wisdom, it's purchased off of the Amazon sites, but we're giving the immediate PDF copy so you don't have to wait for it to arrive. And we also, I did a special event with Bob Proctor. We called it Savvy and Sophie's Wisdom. And we talked about the book. We addressed questions as well. And all of that has been recorded and captured. And we're giving it to anyone who buys Savvy Wisdom.
That absolutely brilliant. I actually had the pleasure of being on that call. And it was really neat. You know, it's just fascinating to me always to see you and Bob together. You have a very special magic together, which I'm sure you know.
We do.
And yeah, it's really, you know, it's one of the calls that you leave just feeling completely elevated. But in addition to your energy being elevated, your awareness has expanded just based on what you shared about Savvy Wisdom and also the questions that people ask, which were fascinating to me as well. One of the takeaways I had from that call, and I won't give too much away because everyone really needs to buy the book and have access to all of this that we're talking about. But it was Bob kept going back to on that call, like you have the wrong goal, and it made me really think.
Yes.
Like, if you're not jumping
Yes.
out of bed in the morning, if you're not achieving your goal on massive levels, you probably have the wrong goal. Because if it's the right goal, you'll do whatever it takes, and we've all been there too, right?
Yes.
We've all, you know, accomplished these great things. It's because we were going to do whatever it took. Like my first book that I published, I would have done and I did. Believe me.
Yes.
You know what I mean, right?
I remember.
Yeah, you're like, I'll do whatever it takes because it was that important. And so all of our goals have to be that way, right? Like we'll do whatever it takes. But you both were so brilliant, and all of the Savvy Wisdom just was infused every question, every answer. And the book really is the benchmark for all of what we're talking about today. You know, I'm really excited for all of our listeners to also get in touch with that book as well, to purchase the book, have the download, and you know, all these amazing supporting tools as well. And it's been absolutely amazing to have you here, Peggy. May I ask you one last question?
Of course.
Talking about buying a book. This is an investment that somebody will make in themselves, albeit a small one. What is the one investment you can say that you've made in yourself that has superseded all the rest?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. I would say it was the January 1979 when I went to that event with Bob Proctor. And at the end of the evening, he invited us, all the people in the room, to invest in ourselves. And he had an 8-week program. Now, this is way before the internet, of course. And it was a live event that he was doing for 8 sequential weeks, one night a week. It was a Thursday evening, and I invested to go to that. And it was so life-changing that I went again. And then I went again. I just kept buying the same program over and over and over again. And the reason is because repetition is of these materials is really how we get to that place of understanding. So
Yeah.
that I would say is the absolute best investment I've ever made, was the investment I made in myself.
The investment you made in yourself, and what you just said was brilliant. And this is a perfect place for us just to really, conclude on such a high and such a deep level of understanding about what we're talking about here today. What you're saying is that you don't want to learn the information, you want to master it, right?
Yes.
And that's this. I've done the same thing. I've invested in the same thing, or come back to it, or listened to a ton of times. It's on repeat, right? And it's because I don't want to hear the information. I don't want to just learn the information. I want to master the information, right? And this time that we're given, this beautiful life that we're given this opportunity for, what are we going to do with it to maximize it, right? The ultimate potential every single moment. And you, Peggy, have given us so much. I've taken a page of notes, and you've given us so much wisdom where we can begin, continue, and expand from wherever our starting point is right now, where we can really dig into that even further. So I thank you so very much for your time here today, and congratulations on Savvy Wisdom. I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
for you.
It's such a pleasure. I just love you. I love everything you're doing. You're a class act. You're operating from integrity. And I love that we met through that beautiful Dina Proctor as well. She's just adorable, adorable person. And so I'm grateful. And I just wish you continued success, even more and more success. And I look forward to seeing you again in the very near future.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that. Thank you for your time, Peggy. It's been an absolute
My pleasure.
pleasure, and we'll connect soon. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.